Hi everyone, this is Tamika Caston-Miller, and I just wanted to connect with you briefly to discuss restorative yoga. So I was scrolling YouTube, and I just thought I'd put in, restorative yoga, like what's on there. Y'all, that is not restorative yoga. Listen, I know that there are a lot of people who really like YouTube influencers and who really appreciate certain yogis. Let me tell you guys something. All that glitters isn't gold. It's not restorative yoga, okay? Even like your favorite person who you like because they sold a book and they like say all the good things that make you feel good, that's not restorative yoga. That's not a restorative yogi. The person who's like restorative yoga to make you feel good or to feel calm or whatever, and then they're doing things that are gentle and all that, that is not restorative yoga. Restorative yoga with a capital R requires stuff, okay? It requires things. It requires blankets, pillows, it requires bolsters, it requires stuff. If you see a restorative yoga video and there are no props, keep scrolling. That is not a restorative yoga class. Probably it's a yin class. And hopefully now we're beginning to do the work to A, make you a more informed yogi, and B, have teachers actually speak to what they know instead of speak to what sells. Trigger alert. All right, so here's the thing. So I teach various forms of yoga, but the two that I love are yoga asana, yoga movement, but the ones that I love the absolute most are restorative yoga and yin yoga, primarily because they are awesome. So this video is about the difference between, or what is restorative yoga, what is yin yoga, and what is the difference between them. I'll start with yin yoga. Yin yoga is about sitting in a practice that is made of discomfort. Yin yoga is predicated upon three basic principles: finding an appropriate edge, staying in the edge for time, and coming into stillness. Those are those principles. So that means that pose is going to be one that can be sustained for time, for a while. Yin yoga poses are usually held for 3 to 5 minutes. So imagine being in a low lunge, or imagine being in a lunge. You can't be in like a standing lunge for 3 to 5 minutes and you're just gonna be fighting. That's not the goal of yin yoga. The goal of it is to find an appropriate edge in which you can live. So that means that you're going to be supported by something, usually the floor or the wall or blocks. All right. So it's not like yin yoga is also prop free. That's also a lie. And that is a lie that is promulgated by people who have either A, never been injured, B, weigh 110 pounds, or C, are very new to teaching yin yoga, and so they think that it looks a certain way, and it doesn't. Actual yin yoga, there are poses that you simply that you can't do without a prop. For example, fish pose. You can't do fish without a block. So there's that. So, and we'll talk more about yin yoga later. But the point is that yin yoga, according to, for example, Judith Hanson Lasater, the queen of restorative yoga, would suggest that yin yoga is still a yang style. Now, Paul Grilly, who invented yin yoga, and Bernie Clark, who really promoted yin yoga and wrote all the books about it and all of that stuff, might not agree with that sentiment, and that's fine. They don't have to agree. Everyone has their own opinion. But what is for sure is that it is not usually a standing practice. So there are a few standing poses and blah, 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 blah. Restorative yoga. Restorative yoga is fully supported. So that means that if you want to practice restorative yoga, you're going to need to invest in some things. You're going to need some props. Now, that could just be you reappropriating some blankets and pillows from your bed to your restorative practice, and that's fine. It's still an investment, right? You invested in that somewhere. It means that you're going to have to invest in yourself, and you're going to have to invest in your time. For the most part, you can get lots of restorative yoga props just from your own bedroom. Also, chair and sofa are also restorative props. But you are going to have to prop up something, and at minimum, you're going to have to use the wall as a prop. There's no such thing as restorative yoga without a prop, because at minimum, you need one prop, and that's the wall. So there's that. Can you practice restorative yoga in a studio while we're in this prop-free environment? Yes, with a very, very skilled restorative yoga teacher, and you're probably just going to be doing legs up the wall for an hour. So there's that. Okay, so restorative yoga is about receiving each pose as its own meditation. Restorative yoga is about conscious rest. It is not a practice of doing, it is a practice of receiving. And if you are going to repeat those words, please quote me on that. But it is a practice of reception. It is receiving the asana. It's receiving all that is with restorative. It's restoring yourself through not having to do anything. So every little nook and cranny that is unsupported, you want to put something there so that you feel supported. Restorative yoga is deeply based in anatomy, and it comes out of the lineage of Iyengar yoga. And so being able to teach Iyengar is being a person who is very in tuned with anatomy, gross anatomy. So are restorative teachers. We're looking at your physical lines. We're looking at spinal alignment. We're looking at how can we create the conditions for you to be completely comfortable, which means looking at the anatomy of the body while you're in a pose. Restorative yoga is also about tricking your nervous system, I think is how Judith refers to it. You're tricking your nervous system. You are creating the situation, the response that you are choosing. We trick our nervous systems all the time. We just don't realize it. We trick it through drinking caffeine, through running a sprint, or taking a cold shower, doing an ice bath. All of those things are tricking the nervous system, and learning how to create the response that you are choosing in any moment. With restorative yoga, we're tricking the nervous system by eliciting calm where calm may not normally be. If you're a person that struggles with anxiety or insomnia, or anything that is that we are dealing with in a COVID environment, what we're doing is we're turning off stress mode and turning on rest mode. Now, why would we care about turning on rest mode? Well, because being stressed all the time not only just doesn't feel good emotionally and spiritually, but it also has deleterious effects in the body. If you look at how stress manifests in the body, it manifests as weight gain and retention, water retention, cancers, all sorts of disease that's in the body are correlated to stress. And I won't sit here and act like I'm a doctor and I'm saying, you know what, you have cancer because you're stressed out. No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that it's really hard to turn on healing mode if you're in stress mode. And so that's why people do what they do to turn off that stress mode. That's why people love that glass of wine at the end of the evening. That's why people like to smoke a bowl at the end of the evening, because they're trying to turn off their day and turn on rest mode. So instead of doing those things, what you can just do is restorative yoga. And realistically, you only need one pose to turn it on. I recently read there are a couple of Instagram accounts that are helpful and not helpful. I recently saw an account that tries to be helpful, fails a lot. And this is a big account, like, lots and lots of followers, posted something like, this is restorative yoga, and none of the poses were supported, and Shavasana was the final pose, and people are like, I love restorative yoga, I love Shavasana. And I'm like, yeah, I do too. And Shavasana and restorative yoga is never just going to be you lying down on the floor. Shavasana and restorative yoga is usually going to include head and neck support, perhaps going to include knee support, ankle support. You're 9 times out of 10 got to have a blanket on top of you, because to create the conditions for calm, you need to be warm. You're probably going to have your eyes covered. So in order to actually and Shavasana isn't a 5-minute experience in restorative yoga. It's usually at least 15 minutes. So to know that you are in an actual restorative yoga class, the teacher probably A, refers to it as restorative yoga, and then B, you are going to maybe do 3 poses in 60 minutes. So a 2-hour-long class is maybe 6-7 poses plus Shavasana, maybe. So poses are anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes. 20-minute Shavasana, 30-minute Shavasana is not uncommon in a restorative yoga class. I just, want you guys to feel empowered with information, because the truth is that restorative yoga is so transformational, especially for people who have experienced trauma. And you've probably experienced trauma in your life if you're over the age of 2. I mean, we've all had trauma. Some traumas are big, really big, and some are small. And this is July 2020. We're all living in a traumatized situation, because we've all been through COVID. We've all been exposed to news cycles. We've all known someone, who's struggled with it, or we've all had arguments with family members about it, or, something has happened that has been not kind or compassionate. And so now is really the time for restorative yoga. So I will be, continuing to offer this practice, restorative yoga and meditation. I'm adding less Activasana right now, because the truth is that what I think that we need to be doing to get activity is actually going outside and touching the earth, and stretching and touching and opening and all those things, and really grounding to the earth and connecting to nature. Drinking then that delicious vitamin D, and breathing in fresh air, and being very grateful for the ability to breathe and for the access to fresh air. But in order to actually turn off all of the stress that we're getting by watching what we watch and having the conversations that we have, or feeling isolated, or feeling, feeling some sort of way about being where we are, that's restorative yoga. Black, brown people, BIPOC communities, restorative yoga is kind of the thing. This is how we heal from colonial trauma. This is how we heal from systemic racism, is to be able to do the work, to sit in the yoga, and to begin abiding in our true nature by being able to see that. And we can see it by sitting in our own lives and peeling back all the other crap that's not our stuff, and that stuff that's been told to us to believe, think, act, all those things. So just to get back to our true nature, that is why restorative yoga is so important. And I know we want to feel strong, and I know we want to feel awesome, and I know you want to nail that handstand, or I know you want to do that 8 angle, I know you want to do that cool arm balance. Okay, you can do those things. And when you can explain to me how that arm balance actually turns off stress mode, and you have science to back that, definitely share that with me. But the science is there to support that restorative yoga will actually turn off all of those things. so that you can fully be prepared for meditation, so that you can fully be prepared for these times that we're living in. So I invite you to tap into that practice with me. There are several platforms for you to practice. Either, of course, there are some here on YouTube, Instagram. There's a little bit. I posted an entire Shavasana challenge back in January that you can go back and do those poses on Instagram. Facebook, Asha Yoga on Facebook. Instagram is at diva_transcending. And then, of course, my Patreon is patreon.com/Tamika Caston-Miller. And now I'm actually on Melanin Moves TV, where I'll only be serving up yin and restorative realness. So that will be happening too. I'm going to drop in just all of those things that I've mentioned and the links so that you know where to find me. And I really hope that you will do what is going to elicit calm for you, so that you can go out and be the amazing person that you were created to be, by not having to deal with all the craziness that is in that we need to go ahead and let go of. It is always my goal to leave you better than I found you, and I hope that happened for you today. Namaste.